You got to remember, at the end of the day, it's you in a coffin, it's you 6 feet under. You got to do the things that make you happy in life. You can't just trudge through bullshit of life and being everyone else's bitch. And then at the end of the day, you haven't done anything for yourself. That's a terrible way of living. Sage and I did a nice 2-mile run.
And no, we are not going to match the episode number to the miles we run prior to it.
Oh, that'd be a good idea,
I shouldn't have even fucking said it, dude.
Because 3 miles isn't that bad.
We're going to crest 4 episodes, and I'm going to be shitting my pants. I'm going to be dreading coming over.
Yeah. All right, man, here we go. Podcast episode 84.
Back on number 2 again.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think that was not bad, though. I don't know. I'm not like an avid runner by any means. So that was difficult. I mean, it wasn't easy. Towards the end, I was definitely struggling a little bit. I could keep pushing myself if need be. But it wasn't easy. I'm not Superman, you know what I mean? I've never done it before.
Yeah, I mean, I went with the no stretch technique. Yeah. Loosen up as you start going. And calves may have benefited from a slight stretch, a little bit of a hello before we started just going. But, we'll deal with that as time goes, and we'll see how much that impedes me tomorrow when I got to form shit up and step over forms and move 100-pound curb forms around. But, 'tis what it is. All part of it. Maybe on mile 3, maybe we'll wake them up a little bit prior.
Yeah, I think once it gets a little bit more serious, if we end up doing that, you might have to stretch a little bit. I don't think people just start running, just get up, and they're like, all right, here we go. We're just going to start running now.
I mean, to each their own.
Teach their own, dude.
Get us prepped for our 10-mile hike, dude. 20-mile hike, I should say, 10 a day.
Yeah.
It's a cakewalk.
10 miles a day. That's not going to be that difficult. I mean, to some people, it might be a little bit more difficult, but I think to us, it won't be too bad, especially if we take our time and we just kind of enjoy it. We'll probably get to camp on the first day, probably somewhere in the ballpark of like 3 o'clock-ish.
Yeah.
And the next day, I've noticed historically, whenever I hike, we end up just hiking very early. I don't know why. I think it's just because we're excited to get back home.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's just get up and start going. Plus, you have this nomadic feeling of like getting up, packing your stuff at the break of dawn and like just to start trekking and like it to be early and you to be just waking up and you already being in this forested area is kind of cool. So
I was going to say, it almost feels like you should be waking up when everything else wakes up.
Yeah.
You're out in their world now. You got to go by their rules.
Yeah.
Birds are chirping, feet are moving.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite part out of the whole hike is probably getting camp set up, starting a fire.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, like drinking coffee and just bullshitting a little bit and then packing our stuff up and just putting it on our back and just walking. That's probably one of my 2 favorite parts.
I'm really stoked to just actually make camp and just hang out.
Yeah.
No light pollution, out on a fucking trail. Just me, you, maybe somebody, whoever comes with us and wants to do it with us, if we even ask. But
yeah,
I'm super stoked for that. I got 3 dehydrated meals ready to be chowed down on.
That's a lot.
I know, dude. I bought a shit ton of food when we went to, what was it called?
REI.
REI, yeah. I spent damn near half a book bag's worth in food.
Yeah. Yeah. You could tell if someone's serious based on what they buy there. If you take someone there and they're like, oh, no, I got stuff. And I'm like, well, what do you have? And they're like, well, I have a normal, like, I have a Jansport. I'm like, you're not taking this shit serious, dude. Like, the whole point is there's this weird thing of, like, being prepared and having the stuff. That's what makes it enjoyable. Having the right shoes, having the right gear, and, like, having a tent and not having like a shitty tent, like a tent that's comfortable and like you have light gear and it's like appropriate. That's what makes it interesting.
Dude, I can't tell you how many people tried my backpack on. Even Keith, when he was on the hike with us, when he put mine on, he was, and Super Nick, he threw that on. He's like, dude, that's a game changer. Just having that that little band that goes around your belly to help kind of stabilize the whole load so your shoulders aren't taking the whole brunt of all your weight.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that thing didn't bother me one bit. I was blown away as to how comfortable that was. And I can see if you had something just slapping on your back, hanging from your shoulders with 20, 30, maybe 40 pounds in it, however heavy you pack, that would be a pain in the butt after a little while, especially 10 miles in. You're begging to take that thing off, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have the hip strap, all the weight on your hips, and it's like dispersed between your hips and your shoulders, so it's just super comfortable. It feels like it's a part of your body almost.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like a pack. It's just kind of like something, like a tight little sweater or something.
Did you have little pockets on your hip bag?
Yeah, I could have put like a phone or like some trail mix or something in there and took a couple bites out of it. I think I actually did throw some trail mix in there, some sort. That there was definitely one of them was a snack stash that I kept just picking from and eating as we were going.
Yeah, one was like a little trash. Like I had a big Ziploc bag, and then the other one was like all my snacks and stuff. So I'd eat shit, and then I just put it in the garbage one, and then that's like the most. It's like so great, and then you could grab your water right there. It's like you're in a car, but not.
Dude, I was really hoping to be able to break out that life straw or whatever it was to drink the water, like dirty water and shit like that. I really want to find somewhere where we have to kind of live more off the land. Like we should even maybe do a hike where we don't bring anything luxury and maybe just try and forage and like just find streams. That's a real hike, dude.
That's a hike, dude.
We got to go when there's berries all over the place. I'll live on berries for a day. I love raspberries, dude. Give me a blackberry forest or not a forest, a grove, whatever the fuck you would call a little blackberry area. Dude, I'll destroy that. Bears will be pissed when they come through for their snack. It'll be all gone.
What the fuck, dude? Fuck with all the berries.
I was going to shit them out all over the trail.
Yeah. So,
what are we getting into this episode, dude?
All right. So, main question that I think that we should touch on first. I think last thing we left off on last episode was more or less just talking about what we want the podcast to be about and kind of how we're just kind of feeling our environment out more or less. So the first topic I'd like to talk about would be what things keep us accountable during our life and with our life goals, and how do we stay on target with those things. And kind of a sub question to that would be like staying on task, and do you feel like you're progressing the way you're supposed to be progressing? Because I always have this problem, right? I've been doing real estate for 7 years. Yeah. And I have like 23 or 24 units. I don't feel like when I say that to random people, that's phenomenal. But to me, I do not feel like I'm progressing the way I should be. I feel like I'm way behind the 8 ball. So the question is, I'll start with you first. Like, do you feel like you're progressing in the right way, or do you feel like you're progressing in the right speed? And then, like, how do you keep yourself accountable to stay on target? So,
to that, I still haven't fully found out what keeps me. I'm still experimenting with that. So, like, one thing I have found out is jobs are the biggest, like, me getting through a job and doing a good job, maybe having a few, not hiccups, I would say. Like, say you're doing concrete or something, and it's not finishing the way you thought it was. It's not drying evenly. Like, little tackles, little hurdles like that, you know what I mean? Every time you face something like that, it's just one more thing under your belt that you know how to deal with. And for me, the smoother my jobs go is a good way for me to see how much I'm progressing. Because obviously, rookies don't know everything. Pros know everything. So for me, when I'm able to just, that happened, yep, just do this. You know what I mean? You have the answer to the problem that's going on, and you don't have any anxiety when those things happen. All your emotions stay at a calm, level-headed, just got to get this done. We got to make this perfect kind of mindset. When none of that stuff phases you anymore, I feel like those are good mental progression things that at least I would use to kind of be able to be like, all right, yeah, I'm doing better. But I feel the same way as you do, dude. I've been doing my own business in construction for 2 years, which is minimal compared to the 7 you got in. But there's always stuff to learn. There's always things that you can improve on. And I mean, it's just being driven and keeping up with it. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know where to go with that, but
yeah,
I get so many thoughts.
I think when it comes to staying on task, you just have to remember that what you're trying to achieve isn't going to happen immediately. So you have to focus on doing the small things that you're supposed to be doing every day in order to get from point A to point B, and that point B would be your end goal. Knowing that it doesn't happen immediately and knowing that you have to take small steps every day to get to that goal and to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And there are going to be setbacks and there's going to be things that you're not planning for, but it's going to take time and it's never going to be perfect. But you just have to continuously remind yourself what you're trying to do. Like for me, I have my mission statement on, like, I cut an index card in half, and I have my mission statement. It's not as in depth as my actual mission statement, but it's very broad, but it's maybe about 2 sentences, and I have that in my wallet. And every time I pull money out, I look at that, and it just keeps me constantly reminded on what I'm trying to do in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to get to the point that I want to get to if I continuously think about that. It's great to have a goal, and it's great to move towards that goal. But if you forget about it, and those on days you just don't do anything, even if it's something small, it's ideal. But if you don't do anything for multiple days, you're going to forget about that goal, and you're never going to achieve what you want to. It's about how badly you want it. So that's kind of how I keep myself accountable to stay on target. I'm just constantly reminding myself. It's just, I say, Michael, small tasks every day. Just do a little bit of something every day, or do something associated to real estate or to buying properties every day, and just know that this is your goal and this is what you're trying to achieve. And to those who don't know, I want to ultimately be working 40 hours a month just on real estate, and the time that I am working on real estate to be focused on buying more acquisitions and working on the properties would be seldom, but I want to worry about growing the business. I don't want to be doing the grunt work as much. And then during the off time of the 40 hours a month, I want to be hanging out with my friends, my family, doing things and being around people that positively, influence me and love me and want to push me to be a better person. The monetary perspective of it is only a portion of success, but it is very important to do. So you want to get to that point, in my eyes, as quickly as you can, because that tends to be sometimes the most difficult thing.
Yeah.
So I just kind of keep that constant reminder in my head, knowing that I have to get that done. And then once it's completed, then I could enjoy my life. It's kind of like a hill, you grunt through all the bullshit, you go up this hill, and then once you reach the pinnacle and you're like, okay, this is what I want to do, and I'm happy, I'm content, then the rest is kind of more or less downhill, and you could enjoy the fruits of your labor of all that uphill bullshit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just constant reminders, constantly thinking, constantly remembering that this is what I want to do, and that's excluding negative people in your life. For people out there that have a boyfriend or a girlfriend that you feel like they're dragging you down and they're not supporting you in what you're doing, you got to get rid of them. You got to get rid of them. And I'm saying friends, and it's even harder to say your loved ones, but you got to remember at the end of the day, it's you in a coffin, it's you 6 feet under. You got to do the things that make you happy in life. You can't just trudge through bullshit of life and being everyone else's bitch, and then at the end of the day you haven't done anything for yourself. That's a terrible way of living. I definitely think that's a small snippet of the grand spectrum of what I'm trying to achieve. You don't want to be like that average person who's just living. We spoke about a little bit before the podcast, just living to live, just to be a body in the world, and just to naturally there are people that you need those people in life, but if you have the mindset or you have that feeling of a higher calling in the way of what we're talking about here, then pursue that. Don't just think, oh man, it's hard or it's too much money and it takes a specific kind of person. You can be that specific person. So you just have to remind yourself to get rid of those people who are saying that you can't be, and be around people that know that you can be this, whatever you're looking to pursue.
Dude, I think that's the hardest thing I feel for a lot of people. I think we talked about it. Maybe it was me and you in private or in the first one. I can't remember, but like growing up, hearing my dad say how like, oh yeah, I was making $28 an hour, $30 an hour, and me just being ignorant young kid, knowing what minimum wage was, and then hearing what he was making, and then when I turned 18, 19, making $40 an hour working as a pipe layer, I thought I was untouchable. You know what I mean? You think that you made it, and you quickly realize, no, that's not the case. You can't just spend money the way you want. You can't just do this. And the people, the company you keep definitely is a giant thing that if you can't recognize, and you don't, just because they, like you've said before, just because they don't fit in your way of thinking, and they might not fit in the perfect picture that you're trying to paint for yourself to live the best life you can, doesn't mean they're bad people, doesn't mean you have to cut them out, but the exposure to them definitely needs to be limited if you are going to maximize your time putting forth as much effort as you can towards your goals, because nothing, unless you're just rotten lucky, I don't feel, at least what I've experienced, nothing comes without a lot of dedication, a lot of time, a lot of trial and error, a lot of just pure raw effort. It's not easy, dude, unless you just luckily fell into some sport that you're a gift to. Making anything out of yourself is just it's the first tally on the board, you know what I mean? And you just got to keep racking them up. And I didn't know anything going into construction when I started. Yeah. I came from a warehouse job, man, and I just knew that I had it in me to be what I had to be to make that happen. I knew what I wanted, that money, you know what I mean? If you want something, my foreman told me from the day I started, every time I was I wouldn't even say slacking off, I was just young and didn't know what I was doing, but I was trying my best. And he'd be up there fucking screaming at me, you gotta want it, dude. You gotta want it. And I'm like, yeah, there's like 2 tons of stone at the bottom here. How am I supposed to shovel this? You know what I mean? You think, you see these hurdles and you see these things that need done, and you've never done them. So of course, they're just massive. Your brain blows them up to some ungodly proportion. Like there's no human that can shovel this much. There's no one that does this. Couple weeks later, couple months later, like this is an average fucking thing that you're doing all the time. You know what I mean? Once you get past that mental hurdle and you figure out that if I really do want this to happen, I can do it. As soon as those things click, dude, I feel like you've unlocked step 2 into success. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's crazy how all that stuff links together. I've been experiencing a lot of it in the short 2 years that I've been on my own, and it's almost kind of like a drug, I guess you could say. It's like a mental checkpoint. As soon as you unlock one, you want to unlock the next one because it feels so good, dude. At least for me, I feel proud, I guess, and I'm sure everybody else would feel proud when they are making positive, noticeable steps towards their goal. And I feel like until people start being able to recognize those, it's a little tough for them to carry on with things. But that's where the dedication and isolating yourself from those people that suck away the determination that tell you, oh, that's too hard, or why are you doing that, or all the people that just don't see what you're really working for and are just used to that crowd mentality of, oh, well, I want the weekend off, I got to relax, or I'm not doing that, I got off at 3, or you know what I mean? It's all about who you expose yourself with and just your determination to it. I think those are the 2 biggest things.
Yeah, and the exposure to those people that you want to expose yourself to, there's not very many of them. So you're going to be hitting a lot of walls and experimenting with a lot of people that might talk the talk, but might not walk the walk. You know what I mean? So you have to sift through a lot of that. You have to sift through a lot of the people that you go, okay, well then you say that, but you're not doing that. And if I call you at a random time and I say, hey, what have you accomplished? What are 3 things that you accomplished today that were oriented to your goal? And they can't list one. You check mark that. If you check mark those more than you don't check mark those, then you realize this person's not really on the same life path as you are.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, and I'm telling everyone that's listening, you're not going to find many of them. You're not going to find. Out of all the people that I know 1, 2, 3 people. And I've talked to hundreds of people about this. Mm-hmm. I went to multiple real estate seminars. Dude, I've talked to hundreds of people that are in real estate, that are not in real estate, that are realtors, that are investors. There's 3. Carlos, Pat, and you. Those are the 3 only people. And granted, there are different levels and different tiers
almost
that they're at, but it's not really about the location that they're at. It's about, are they about what they're talking about?
Yeah.
And if I call them randomly on the spot and I question them about something that they did, are they able to tell me something about it? And are they able to... Dude, I called Carlos on Sunday, which was today, and I even called him last Sunday. Both Sunday, he lives in Lancaster. Both Sundays, he was in Harrisburg working on this big multi-unit that he just bought. Mm-hmm. Dude, couldn't be happier about it, dude. Like, those people just have this specific spark in them where it's like, I have to do this. I'm so driven towards my goal that I cannot take no for a fucking answer. My body is the troops and my mind is the fucking commander, dude. And my mind can tell my body to do whatever the fuck it wants to do. You know what I mean? And there's not very many people that are commanders, dude. You know what I mean? It's hard to find those people. So to be able to, it's like a muscle. I mean, you've heard it. I think people have probably heard it. Your mind is like a muscle. You have to work it out.
Yep.
And just like a muscle, if you don't work it out, you could lose it. So you have to constantly be working that out. So it's very important to find those people in your life, and it's very important to stay on task.
Woo!
Coughing.
Yeah, dude, I hear you on that one. I forget if it was you I was talking to about this or somebody else, but I feel like once you know what you're doing, it's not a job anymore. It's not a to-do list thing. It's your life. Like it transforms. It's not something that you're not looking forward to anymore. Like just like Carlos this morning, I woke up 7:00, got up by 7:30, 8:00. I was at the client's house that I poured on Friday, stripping forms and restoring everything, polishing the areas that we concreted around and just cleaning up and finishing up the job, you know what I mean? And there was no part about my morning that I wasn't okay with, you know what I mean? I got my coffee, got my tools, cruised over there. It's a beautiful morning. What better to do than to wrap up a great job and to finish up and check in, make sure they're happy, you know what I mean? Like those things are all things that I would look for to be like, all right, today was a success. You know what I mean? I'm not looking at it as, oh, it's a weekend and, oh, I got to get up early on a Sunday. I really wanted to sleep in on my Sunday. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that, dude. Like, if you want it, go get it. Days are days. There's many, many, many a Sundays to come. Why are you worried about this one? There's going to be a time where you don't got to worry about any of them. There's going to be a time where you don't got to worry about any Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, whatever. It's just going to be, what am I doing today that I want to do? But these Sundays, these Saturdays, these late Thursdays, these late Tuesdays, Monday through Fridays, every day, dude. It's all the thing you have to do to put in the work. That sounded really dumb how I worded it, but it's all part of the overall agenda. That's all part of that goal, and that's all holding yourself accountable to that goal, holding yourself to the goals you've set, even if it's not the main one, the sub goals, I guess you could say. And if you're not excited about those, you're not gonna enjoy them. You're probably not gonna accomplish them, and you're probably not going to succeed in them. There has to be a level of enthusiasm behind them. You can't be doing something you're not happy or excited or stoked about. You know what I mean? That's just a recipe for failure.
Yeah.
So picking the right well, I don't even know how you would call or what you would call that. Picking
path in life.
Yeah, picking the right things that you want to do. What fits you? That's the biggest thing. Happiness isn't, like you say all the time, happiness isn't a monetary standpoint. It's not I have this standpoint. It's not possessions. It's just being content, being happy, being overall just excited about what you're doing every day and the path that you're on. And everybody's is different, but
yeah, dude, that's a great point. You said it really well. You know, it's if you're not excited about what you're doing, pick something else. Like, you know what I mean? Just do something that you're really like. We talk about Ryan, your brother. The dude loves movies. He loves like gaming. Do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could see that he holds a specific type of enthusiasm about it. You know, if you'd put him in a position that would encompass those things, he'd knock that shit out of the park. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's so, dude. It sucks because he's so. And man, I don't know how to say this without just saying it like I have trouble with all the time. But like he's locked in that fucking rat race mentality.
Yeah.
I have to go to work and I have to work hard and I have to get promoted and I have to stick with the same company. And he doesn't, like, if he put more energy into that stuff, guaranteed. I mean, dude, he knows the people who made Call of Duty. Like, he communicates with them regularly. He gets multiple signed autograph things. He's out in California right now at Beverly Hills Film Festival. Like, he has all these means of like being successful, but I don't think he can picture it. I don't think he can even come up with a scenario in life that isn't what he's doing right now. Like he still is just so focused on, well, I gotta work and I gotta do this, and then I gotta make sure I have enough money for this, and then I gotta be in bed by this time, and you know what I mean? Like he's so locked into this told to him routine that he's not able to think outside of the box to make what he wants to have happen.
I think following a lot of the different podcasts and having a mentor really enabled me to become the person that I am currently. And I don't think he has that person, you know? He doesn't have someone who succeeded in his realm, or maybe he does, that's pushing him to do those things, you know?
I think you're right about that, dude. I don't think and I tried to be that person many a times for him, starting my business, whether it was, hey, dude, I'm working, I literally 2 houses down from him, put a patio in. Hey, bud, come down. I'll teach you how to finish concrete. I'll teach you every single thing I know, down to my last breath that I can tell you about how to do this stuff so you can do it on your own. And I will tell you how much I make. I'll tell you what to price. You have any questions, I'll answer them for you. Just come and any free time you have, if you want, come work with me. Like, you can learn as much as you want, and I don't care if you're my competitor, dude. Like, that I will teach you. I will do this stuff for you. And it kind of hurts my heart, man, but he like brushed it off like it was a fucking joke, and I'm like, dude, I'm really trying to be here for you. And I think he's still just so stuck with seeing all these people around him do the same shit, have the same problems. He just thinks that's life. There's no other option. There's no other reality. You know what I mean? Everybody's worried about bills, and they're worried about payments, and they're worried about this. And I mean, who isn't until you're successful? But I mean, like, surrounded. Like, that's their main worry all the time.
Yeah. And I think that gives you a good reason to continue to pursue your career path and your life choices, because through your success, Ryan will see that it's possible.
Yeah.
You know, someone who is cut from the same cloth, doing the things and having the life that a lot of people would want. And it's not going to be in a year or 2 years. It's going to be in multiple years. You'll eventually get it. But to be able to show them, look, I achieved some sort of success in my eyes, and look at the things that I'm able to do. And I just had to take that jump. I had to take that risk, and I had to push myself. But now I have these stories and these abilities that now I could teach you, and I could show you to also achieve that, if not even greater than that.
Yeah.
And the only thing you could do is just have him around and give him some pieces of insightfulness. And over time, maybe you'd rub off on him, you know. Carlos gave me a bunch of books, dude. The first time I met Carlos, he was talking about real estate. I was a technician. He was a foreman at Toyota. And I heard him talk about, I think he had like 8 or 9 units at the time, maybe even more, maybe 10 or 12. And I was a 19-year-old fucking skinny kid. I still am skinny, but like I was even skinnier. And I just heard him in passing, and I said, you know, hey, Carlos, I want to get into, you know, I am interested in what you're talking about. I want to get into real estate as well. And, you know, can you show me how to do it? He goes, read these books. Start with these books first, and then once you read these, get back to me, and we could talk about it and go from there. Yeah, and then after that, I read the books that he wanted me to read. And once I read those books, I came back to him, and I was reading them very quickly because I was doing them all through audiobooks. I'm not the fastest reader, just like you. Mm-hmm. It takes me forever to read a book. And if I read it fast, I don't absorb as much as I want to. So I have to get it through audiobook and have a professional read it to me. And when I do read, I do like to read in leisure as well. But it has to be like in the morning, because if it's in the evening, I fall asleep. It's the weirdest shit. But yeah, and then after those small tasks, and I got I got something instilled in me from those books where my mindset switched, and then I was just really motivated to do it. Mm-hmm. And through Carlos and my other mentor, Pat, it was just, I was able to get my first property from there. But in a way, I was just like Ryan, almost exactly like Ryan, because I was also working at a Toyota dealership just like he is. Now, different positions, but I just had to find that one person to be like, do this, and if you're interested, do this, and get back to me. And I did those things, and my life changed forever. If I would have never met him, I think I would have still gone to real estate with Pat, you know, through Pat. It would have been nowhere close to the speed that I am now, which I still think it's very slow. So, man, that's pretty much what I would have to say about that, you know, just hopefully he gets the bug, and as long as you reiterate that stuff to him and he knows that you're there and you love to instill him with some things that you think that he would find interest in and would make his life better, if he knows that, and then he doesn't take those, then that's on him, dude. You know what I mean? That's where it comes down to that specific person. It's like, how bad do you want it, you know? Yeah. I've told that same thing that you've told Ryan. I've told that to many people who wanted to, quote-unquote, get into real estate. And none of them, literally 0 of them. I've maybe 20, 30 people. Yeah. 0 of them said, yep, all right, I read those books, or, oh, yep, you're right. I did that thing, and I'm ready for the next step. No one passed even step 1, dude. If you get your first property, you'd be the first one. How weird is that? You mean at the end of this year when I get my first property? Yeah, dude. I hope you do, man. I think I talked to Carlos about that 11 unit. Yeah. We end up not getting that 14 unit. Someone outbidded us. I made a mistake because in the contingency of the sales agreement, we got really in depth, and we told them that we were going to sell 4 properties. And I think that scared them. Mm-hmm. So next time, I'm just going to I have to do a 1034 exchange on some properties and just keep it very broad. And if they ask questions, then that's on them, and then I have to elaborate, but I'll still do it in a very broad way. I think we made a mistake by just being too detail-oriented about the contingency. So now we're working on another one, and I was kind of skeptical on that. But after talking to Carlos and kind of understanding his philosophy on it, I'm going to pursue that. So what you're saying is you went after something, you gave it your all, and you learned from one tiny little detail that may or may not have broke that deal what to do for the next one. Yep. And you're unharmed. You're not going under because of this mistake. And I like to
to look at these things. You know what I mean? Because people hear mistake, they hear failure. I said in the opening podcast, those things right there are enough to scare people out of even trying. And just you going for it, you learned how to have that more competitive edge, that more professional writing style when it comes to your contracts, when it comes to all that kind of stuff. Those are awesome things to have happen. As much as it sucks you didn't get that building, those are things there that make that's literally success in the making. Like I love to look at those little things. Not always failures, you know what I mean? But just like even those little things that were, oh, dude, if I didn't do that, this wouldn't have happened. And this worked out really well. Like those are those things you put in the back burner for situations where you're conscious enough to recognize them the next time. Or you can see your competition, and that's where you can be like, hey, that dude's making the same mistake I did. I know exactly how I'm going to beat him because he has no idea just off of what he's saying. Like those little things are cool in my opinion.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, dude, it did upset me.
I'm sure.
I was upset for like a whole day. I found out at like 7 p.m. I was upset the rest of the evening. And I called Carlos. I was like, Carlos, I'm going to be upset the rest of the night. Tomorrow, it's a new day. I'm gonna like, I can't do anything about it. It's over. You know what I mean? Just take it on the chin, understand what I did wrong, keep moving. You know what I mean? I didn't know. I didn't know that would be a deal breaker. I didn't know that we can make it more broad. I thought we have to be very detailed in our contingency statement. No, just say we're doing a 1034 exchange on a property, and or we have to do a 1034 or 10. I think it's 1031 or 1034. Excuse me for any of the realtor people who are like, you're saying it wrong. 1031, 1034 exchange. And that's all you say in the contingency. Don't elaborate anymore, because then they just think that you're selling one property. And if I said I sold 4, they were like, "Ooh, the probability of failure for those 4 is high." And 60-day closing. Are they able to close all 4 property? You know, then they start thinking too much. So
there's more gears that need to move for that wording.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like that. Sam always yells at me for giving too much information. And I'm working on it. But like this morning, she yelled at me. Kind of stupid, but she's like, they don't need to know that. I told the dude, I'm like, hey, Paul, yeah, I'm getting dressed here. I'm going to grab my coffee. I'm going to get out, start my truck, and then I'll be heading over. She's like, all you got to do is tell them that you're going to be on your way in about 5 minutes. They don't need to know you're getting dressed and getting a coffee. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, she's right.
I know they are, but dude, you just feel like that's the right thing to do. I'm a very open, honest, treat others as you want to be treated person. I like to personally know what people are doing because it helps me get a better idea as to, all right, they're getting dressed 5 minutes. They're grabbing a coffee, making it home, another 5 minutes. All right, they're driving here, that's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Those little things, at least how my brain works, tells me how much time I have to work on other shit, to mess around, to unwind myself, to get like just anything like that. And it's weird because we're talking about how few people actually have the mindsets to go and do this stuff, and everybody's in the same kind of cycle. You got to almost think like everybody else. But I mean, the dude I'm doing this job for owns a fucking tower erecting business and lives on this beautiful compound. So
yeah,
he's been doing it for 30 years. He's past the point of caring. You know what I mean? He just gets up, goes in his jacuzzi every morning, and then just does whatever he has to keep his property looking nice. But yeah, stupid little stuff like that, man.
Yeah, I think a good thing too is not to give people a specific time on when you'll be there, but giving them parameters. So like if you're going to be there at 9 and you feel like you're going to be there at 9, just say, hey, I'll be there between 8:30 and 10. And then they'll say, okay, so I have 8:30 and 10. That's a couple an hour or so. So you could be a little late, you know, and you're okay because you told them parameters, you know. Hey, I'm finishing up a couple things. I'll be there between 11 and 12. Okay, great. I know when to expect you. He's finishing up some things between this time. Then, you have a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah.
So that's a good point, man.
Little pro tip there at you.
Pro tip coming at you. But yeah, I think we covered a lot, man. I think we did a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, I think it was a good one. We gave there's some juicy tidbits in there. Just listen a little.
Yeah, just listen a little. You'll figure it. Just listen a little. You'll figure it out. But yeah, man, I'm glad we got to do episode number 2. I'm happy that we were able to continue keeping this dream alive, and I'm glad that I'm doing it with you. And I guess that concludes the Dig Deep podcast, episode number dos.
Conclusion.
All righty. Goodbye, everyone.
Adios.